Every idea starts as a bud, a little small thing that if you watch and harvest grows and grows and grows, eventually into something real. Today's topic is that, flow and ideation. A long while ago, I took the Gallup's Strength Finder, and ideation was actually my top #1 skill. I didn't expect it. I thought that people just had ideas. And then I started to think about the process of doing that and how you actually get ideas, how you harvest ideas, how you bring about ideas from your own internal cave, if you will, your own internal cavern where gold can be found. So today I want to talk about flow and ideation because they go hand in hand. Part of why we all do this is for the creativity aspect of it. It's really cool to have a skill and a talent to be able to create something, and then you have to ask yourself the question, what do I create? So first things first, I know that a lot of you have played a video game or potentially done some shooting, and you know about red dot sights. And you know that if you don't have a red dot sight, you're kind of relying on the natural sights, what are called iron sights, the sights that are just there, kind of built on, but not specially focused to be accurate down to a point like a red dot sight. Okay? So I want you to try to imagine your mind sometimes as a reticle. This is a very complex reticle. This is not just a red dot sight. But I want to illustrate the idea that sometimes when it comes to ideation, people get fixated, right? We can get fixated on one type of way of doing it. But if you start to incorporate other lessons of your life, other stray ideas, other feelings, intuitions, curiosities, and stuff like that into your project, into your build, you might end up surprised at how much more you see, how much more area feels like, okay, this is worthwhile to go down and explore. Your mind is much more complex than a simple red dot sight. Your ingenuity, your decision making is much more complex than just point and shoot. It's incorporating all these different things, and I think you should do that. I think that's part of flow. I think that's the process, because if not, you're kind of denying things that could dip their toes into the water, where it becomes this nice, actual kind of collage of things that becomes uniquely your perspective and uniquely your way to build something. There's two people that I want to highlight when it comes to these ideas, and the first one is Rick Rubin. If you don't know, Rick Rubin is a successful music producer, and he's worked with a lot of different people, and he's huge on this idea of letting things flow, letting things go, being the artist and the vessel of the idea, being the antenna to the electricity, and letting things move, right? And we can do things to amplify this stuff, and there's a process and all that, but first and foremost, the biggest thing we have to do is remember to get these things on paper, to get started, right? If you have an instinct, if you have something come to you in the shower, if you have something during work, if you have something during play that you're like, could be interesting to build something around that, get it on paper. Scribbles, words, pictures, diagrams, something. A voice recording. Talk to your GPT, talk to Claude, right? Get it down, because this is true. I believe this is true, that there are times for things to come to fruition, right? It's a little bit of an odd idea, but there's something about timing in this world. There's something about timing to ideas, right? There's something about timing of interactions, whether it's in the physical or even in the mental sometimes, right? So, what's the damage really of just trying it out, seeing your ideas as valuable enough to get them on paper when they come? Probably better than having less ideas, right? If anything, you have a bit more scrap paper around, but not a big cost. Because one of those ideas could change your life. The second person I want to highlight is Ernest Hemingway. Rick Rubin, and the quote that I chose there, was speaking to the beginning of a project. You want to start these things, right? You want to make sure you get them on paper. But here, we're talking about going through it and finding an end to it. He had a rule that he would basically walk away before he felt like he was finished with it. Even particularly maybe that chapter. He just had some excitement left in the tank. And you can read his exact words there. And this is good practice. It's good practice to not burn yourself out at the gym so much that you don't want to go back. Same thing when it comes to creativity, mental processes, and things like this. Right? It can be hard to crack open the laptop during a frustrating problem, during a frustrating concept being applied technically, and it's just not going the way you think. But if you do this enough, or you have enough days of still a little bit of excitement to bring you back, eventually you're just going to find your way through. So Hemingway, as you all know, well accomplished, man's man, guy's guy. And something that people really like about him, something that I like about him as a character, is that he was a full character. He lived to his full character. Very accomplished in writing, spent time in war, did some hunting, did some gambling, did some drinking, did some festivities, bull riding, stuff like that. And people read his books and you can feel that. You can feel that in the way that it's laid out and the ideas that are presented. Not even so surface level as the idea is being presented, but just in the way that it is, the way that it comes across, right? So even though you may or may not do something that is groundbreaking, you may or may not be planning to do something that is groundbreaking, not trying to be the next Uber, not trying to be the next whatever, Huawei or Tesla or something like that. You just want to make sure that you're still doing it in the way that you best can. That's important. That's, in my mind, part of the process that if you can get down, makes it all easier. It makes it all better when it comes into fruition. You're spending hours and hours and hours grinding on this thing mentally when you're away from your desk, and grinding at this thing hand-to-hand combat style when you're at your desk. So you might as well be creating something along the way that is, I don't like the word alignment, but that is aligned to you. That is parallel to your vision, if you will. That is with your honest thrust behind it. Okay? And if you do that, I think you get your best work. Okay, I don't think there was a way that Hemingway would have been able to accomplish all these things on paper and on just like a fulfilled life way if he didn't follow what was true. If he just wanted so bad to be a successful writer that he threw out his style, he wouldn't have been a successful writer. So it's a paradox, and you want to balance both because you want to be great, you want to be excellent, you want to be a master of your craft, and that in your mind is success and comes with success. But it can be a long road to get there when you're doing things that are unique to you, which are inherently different. Rick Rubin always tries to say that his knack was just creating space and letting the people do what they do and letting the ideas do what they needed to do. And you can see from his discography that he's got a wide net. He was in the hip-hop world, in the rock world, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and still today. The thing that people all came to him was not because he knew records and chords and this and that. It's because he just understood on some talented level this process of getting through to the core, to getting that sharp, nice reticle that's almost beyond just purely mental. It's incorporating all these different things that you have about yourself, your subconscious, your conscious, the iceberg that is you and that is your mind, and put it into something on paper, right? That's the process, Sometimes perhaps we lean one way where we're too into the idea and we're too in love with it that we don't begin, we have the perfectionism, we never release it, stuff like that. Or sometimes you go into the other part where you're too obsessed with the tools and you spend time debating the software, the technology stack, and all that stuff, and then nothing worth doing even comes through those tools, right? So it's that intersection of those two realities. That is the way I believe you get the best ideas. That is the way that ideation functions in a human the best. That is the way that ideas come to a person in the most honest, true, real way, right? It's those jokes that make sense to you. It's those pieces of insight that only you could have said. It's only the moments in your life that could have come to this thing coming from you, right? And to be honest with you, it can be insanely difficult to reach that, but it's also almost the easiest thing in the world as well, if you let it. And so far, it's been a bit of a balance and a challenge and a process to do this more often and to do it more honestly and to do it with more precision every time, but layer upon layer, moment upon moment, project upon project, it seems to get sharper. And as I've sharpened this intuition, if you will, it's led to other intuitions in other parts of life. There's one last concept I want to add into all this to give some context to why I'm going so hard on the idea of ideation. Okay? We are making custom software, we are doing projects, we are building things that are practical at the end of the day. But the ideation can be a bit more esoteric. I get that. But the reason why I'm placing emphasis on this is because I believe what's happening right now in this space is a cycle. It's a cyclical moment. It's something that you can see. If you've ever looked at the development cycle of a city, and a great city, somewhere down the line, someone calls it gentrification. And whether it's development or gentrification or a bit of both, this is the typical process. In the beginning, there are the brave people that go into an area that's near enough to previously good areas, but far enough that the expenses are low. The risk is high because there's a lot of unknowns and there can be some interesting characters. And for the most part, that section has not been well maintained or taken care of or looked after or poured into. So you have the brave, maybe stupidly brave, maybe morally brave, but brave nonetheless, move into an area. And then you have the aware. The aware are the people that see that and see the initial signs of safety. But again, you have enough access in proximity to the previously good area, the previously rich area, whether that means rich in culture or rich in ideas or rich in social value. It's kind of an intermix of all that stuff, right? We call them cities. That's kind of what it is, right? So the brave come first, the aware comes soon after, and the aware are the people with a little bit more sense, a little bit more resource, and a little bit more creativity. They're not just purely focused on the risk factor for the risk factor. They take educated risks in order to do something. And a lot of times, this doing something for them, because there are these people who like to go into new places, it's exploratory. And so you get new arts, you get new energies, you get new cultures, you get new concepts coming out of this aware, right? And then comes the wave, which is the people that see that freshness, that see that aliveness and want to kind of join in. But they weren't the type of people to come when it was a little sketchier, when it was a little more odd, when it was a little bit more experimental. But they have more resources to pour into the place, and now the whole place as a whole develops and grows and grows. And people there get richer in culture, richer in finances, richer in resources, richer in connections, all that stuff. And last comes the crowd. The crowd is just normal people, right? First, it's a wave of like the cool crowd, and then it becomes kind of your everyday crowd. And then eventually, some cities flourish for a long time. Some cities die off a slow death. But this cycle is where I think this space is in right now, in the early stages, in the first two, possibly going into that third. And it's a good thing for the most part. Some people, you will know this, are going to be diehard fans of saying that the new AI technologies in this space are ruining it, making it dishonest, not making you real, adding more problems, etc., etc. To me, that is the language of a Luddite. And it's never a comfortable place to be when your way of being is about to change. And you almost know it, like you hear the rumbles underneath the tectonic plates of the earth, but you think you can stand firm enough to not let it affect you. And I'd urge everyone to hop on to the new tools, hop on to the new ideas and all that stuff, okay? And last thing about that whole concept is that if you do latch on to these new tools and new ideas, and you find this exciting rather than threatening, and key thing here, you didn't typically see yourself doing something like this. You didn't typically see yourself doing something in this way. You didn't expect this technology. I didn't. I had no idea I'd be doing stuff like this. But then again, if I think about my reticle and all the things that are incorporated into it, it kind of makes perfect sense. So if you feel any sort of feeling like that, if you feel any sort of concept of this is interesting, I want to explore this, I want to continue to see where this goes, I want to give it a shot, then do it. Okay? And do it in the sense of being in the garage. Many things, many great things are started in a garage. And if you're a guy watching this, which you probably are, you know that a garage is like your place. It's like your domain, your den, right? And you have a workshop and you have your space where you can move and think and express and experiment, okay? Because if you're here, if you're still watching this video, if you're thinking about these things, you're probably a part of that early, aware, excited group. And it's fun out here, man, okay? And I think it's going to be very interesting and cool to see all the people with crazy ideas now move into this area that has low expenses and low requirements and restrictions because of the technology. We've all increased our ability to go into places like this and make something. And so all the crazy ideas are coming. And I like it and I think it's good. Try this process. Try the process of thinking through these things and taking on the practical steps and also kind of the mindset behind all this stuff we talked about. And just give yourself the permission of being in the garage. Create your space. Have your notes, have your scrap paper, and have something to write with, and do it. Start moving. Start communicating. Start expressing. And then start testing yourself. Mix stuff together. Move stuff around. Change it up. Throw a fucking 700 horsepower engine on a car that's not meant to have it. Men and people in general who are risk takers are the people in the front, are the type of people to do stuff like that. They're the type of people to want to set land speed records. We're the type of people to want to see how fucking high, how fucking far, how fucking low, how fucking anything we can do. Guinness World Record type stuff. Okay? So this is where the boundaries are pushed. This is where the experiments are done in the garage, and it starts here and it starts now. And I think that you should respect yourself enough to put the ideas out on paper, to build the ideas all the way through and set them free and make them real. If you don't feel this calling, don't do it. But if you feel like creating something, if you feel like hopping along, if you feel like you're in the flow, if you feel like you're seeing what other people aren't seeing, the river's going and other people are on the sidelines waving you by, because that's how I feel. I feel like sometimes the world is insane. The world is insanely stuck in the mud, and we are moving, and it is exciting, and it is fast. So go make some stuff. Go do some things. Go throw something on something else that wasn't supposed to fit. Go try the opposite of what you thought. Start from the end instead of the beginning. Mix things up. Try it all to kind of jolt yourself into these ideas that you might potentially have if you start to allow yourself to incorporate everything that you know, everything that you are, everything that you've become, everything that you see and feel and hear and know and think, all that stuff. Pour it into your projects. Sometimes when you do this stuff, you get some crazy ideas that don't actually see the light of day or don't become this, hit. But that crazy idea led to something that was incorporated in something that then did become a hit. Happens all the time. Okay? So allowing yourself, pushing yourself to these limits is going to open yourself up to the most possibilities, the most darts on the board, right? The most balls down the bowling alley. So you can be like that one psycho who I love.
Strike to claim it. A strike to claim it. And he got it!
That is right! I did it! That's number 5! Are you kidding me? That's right! Who do you think you are? I am! Get it right!
And quite possibly, something really damn cool could come out of it, and something really damn profitable could come out of it, and something real damn cool and profitable can come out of it. So that is ideation, the best way that I can put it, the way that it comes to me and my unique point of view. I'd be interested to hear your point of view on anything that was discussed today and maybe any other concepts you'd like to have this sort of conversation about. That being said, if you'd like to continue to watch, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out even more deep dive content on these specifics, check out my school.